We're just waiting for a few more participants. We will begin approximately in a minute. Um, okay, welcome back. My name is Dan Nandan. I'm the CEO of Higher IT People. We are an IT consulting and staffing services company based out of Washington, D.C., with offices in New Jersey, Texas, Maryland, India, and Bangladesh. We primarily provide staffing services to government clients and several commercial clients in the U.S. We were established in 2010, and we have over 200 employees on our payroll worldwide, including over 120 consultants in billing. We primarily focus on staffing services, on-site staffing, consulting, covering various technologies. Now, we are also certified by the District of Columbia Small Business Department, which is called a CBA certification. I personally bring in a rich experience of 16 years in the IT staffing industry. I worked at several large firms on Wall Street before establishing Higher IT People in 2010. I was also featured on Computer World, computerworld.com, a pretty famous magazine which is focused on computer-related articles. I was also on a number of TV shows working with resumes. Now, we were mostly focusing on the IT staffing services. I also bring in a rich experience of immigration, along with recruiting, account management, and client interaction. Now, how we can help you? What is this webinar is all about? The U.S. IT market, job market, is a record low. The unemployment is record low at 4.7%. We see a lot of increase in the job market, and several clients are looking for a lot of candidates. We've been making a lot of job placements in the last, at least the first quarter has been pretty good for our company. So we thought of reaching out to people in India who are H1B cap exempt and who are able to take interview calls and join our client projects. The process from the day we start the interviews takes approximately about 4 to 6 weeks. So you need to be prepared if you are looking for an opportunity in the U.S. You already have traveled to the U.S. You have an H1B visa in the past. B, you have not traveled to US, but you still have an H1B that you're looking for another employer who can actually provide a project placement and bring you to the US. Now, once I conclude the first session, you can raise your hand and we will open up a Q&A. Then we will jump into the immigration part. So the first part, let's focus on the benefits, how we can help you in marketing your resume to our clients, and how we can get you a contractual job opportunity wherein you become an employee of our company. Now, as I mentioned before, our primary client, the major breadwinner, is District of Columbia government, and we also work with a number of other government agencies along with several commercial clients. We have contracts with several government and commercial clients. We also work in a top third-party vendor network. Our marketing team is pretty aggressive, and we have experienced account managers who bring onboard clients. We almost have at least one new client being onboarded every month. Our recruiters are professional. They have a lot of experience. They will first work with you to ensure your resume is properly written and formatted so we can present it to our clients. Now, once we have your resume ready, we have, as I said, we have a local unit in India. We are based out of Hyderabad. once we conclude the webinar, if you are going to be interested in joining our company, one of our recruiters will get in touch with you, and they will work with you to ensure we get a professionally written resume ready, and we are able to present your profile to our clients. Now, okay, just to name a few clients, we have contracts with District of Columbia government, Infosys, DirecTV, the satellite company. We just signed up with the telecom giant, AT&T. Should probably be active as of June 1st. And we work with a textile company called Brandix. Then there are a few other healthcare companies like Faros Innovations, a solar company, Sunova Energy, down in Texas. And these are, some of the major clients, to name a few. But we do have contracts with at least another 15 to 20 different smaller clients. So the volume of job requirements each day is over at least 50 jobs each day, which covers major technologies anywhere from Java to .NET, full stack developers, SAP HANA database, SAP ABAPers, subject matter experts, project managers, business analysts. Then on the big data side, Hadoop. We have a lot of jobs on the cloud. There is some market for network administrators. It's not as good as it used to be. The focus has shifted now. But on the web application side, full stack developers. On the quality assurance side, people with experience, using Selenium and Quick Test Pro, QTP. Just give me 1 second. I have trouble with my computer today. Now, the biggest question, to cut my boring speech, I would like to focus more on what you get when you join our company. Now, when it comes to the H1B sponsorship, in the last 5 years, we have sponsored several candidates. We've been very successful. We are clean with the immigration in the U.S., which is often referred to as USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. We are also pretty clean with the U.S. consulates, especially in India. We don't have trouble. As I said, we bring in a lot of experience. We also have on the panel, we have on the call. Now, let me introduce Sujit and Sachin. They're from Ramchand and Raval immigration firm. They're based out of New York. They will help you on this webinar with any questions we may have for the for any immigration related questions. Let me open up the microphone for Mr. Sujit and Sachin so they can say hello. Just give me 1 second. Sujit, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. I am Sujit Ramchand. I have with me Sachin Raval, and we are from Ramchand and Raval, which is a law firm that's located in New York. And we have tremendous legal experience. I myself have been practicing law for over 16 years, and we deal with a lot of complicated immigration matters. I will now let Sachin say hello to you. Sachin, are you on?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you very much, Dan, for this opportunity, first of all, to be here on the webinar. Sounds like we have a very interesting topic to discuss, and we look forward to supporting you. We're here for any questions or comments you may have. So once again, we appreciate the invite. Looking forward to it. So please continue.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Now, coming down to the employee, we will talk about the immigration part after about 5-10 minutes. I know it's a Saturday, and it's midnight for us. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So we'll try to wrap this up as soon as possible. To give a quick overlook of the employee benefits when you join our company, I see a lot of people have raised their hands. So if you have a question, we will take as many questions as possible. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. I will go in an order. If there is something I can answer, I will answer. If we need the attorneys to answer the question, I will pass it on to the attorneys. Now, quickly jumping into the employee benefits, the packages are custom salary packages based on your technical background. I'm sure you all have a bachelor's degree, which qualifies you for the H1B. So we will not focus much on your educational background. Since you will be placed as a contractual employee, our clients are more interested in your experience, your certifications. There are various factors that can lead to a better salary. Of course, number of years of experience. We're specifically looking for someone to have a minimum 6 to 7 years of experience, and it can go up. Now, the salaries will start, the base package, you will go as a full-time employee of our company, then you will be providing contractual services on-site at various locations in the U.S. It could be anywhere from New York to California. It could be Seattle, Washington. It could be in Texas. We have these clients spread over the United States in at least 25 to 30 states. Now, a lot of people have sent us an email asking what is the type of salary they can expect if they make this change from their current job in India or other countries. It would start anywhere from $70,000 based on your background. It can go up to $200,000 a year. Every employee is given a certain benefits. There is a benefits package. It's not just the base salary. We cover every employee with the medical insurance, which covers dental and vision. Medical insurance is pretty expensive in America, so we just want to make sure all the employees are covered under medical insurance. And we also offer, to save taxes, we offer flexible spending accounts where up to $5,000 in a year, if you have anything that is related to medical or child care, that this money, $5,000, can be used. It's tax exempt. And for most of the employees, if they require, I'm sure, on this call, everyone requires an H1B visa. There is no expense to you for H1B. As soon as the client, you're engaged with one of our clients, then we do the onboarding process, which definitely includes the H1B process at no expense to you. So in other words, we know the problem. We know when you work with consulting companies, there is nothing like a security deposit. We take care of the entire cost which is involved in filing the H1B visa. Now, for all eligible employees, if you prefer to settle down in the U.S., then we also offer a free green card process, which will begin after 3 months of employment. Now, we believe joining a company, especially the immigration and most of the other benefits, you should have an assets from the company, not liabilities. And going forward, when you move from one location to another location, say you work on a 6-month project, now after the 6th month, should we have to move you, the project is done, and then we put you on another project, then we will take care of the relocation expenses. That also comes as a benefit under the benefits package. Now, if you have to get certified, you need to upgrade your skills. The client is asking for new tools or new technologies. So as long as it is job related and the client requires that you need to upgrade your skills, we will also pay for any certifications, any training that is required. Right now, on an ongoing basis, we do have a lot of our employees who are subject to training. We spend tens of thousands of dollars making sure they're up to the speed, they are on par with the latest technologies or new versions that come up under various software packages. Okay, before I get into the H1B cap exempt, I see a lot of people raise their hands. So please ask me any question which is not H1B related at this moment. You know, if you have a question about the job market or if you have a question about the benefits, we will try to make this more interactive now. As I said, rather than a boring speech, we'll try to take questions from you and make it interactive for everyone. Let me see who is on the questions list now. Attendees, I see Kiran Babu M. Good morning, Kiran. I'm going to open up your microphone. Please ask. Kiran?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm there.
Hi, good morning.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I have like I had H1 before, like the H1 is processed in 2004, and
all right, Kiran. We are still yet to speak about. As I said, once again, once you can ask me anything about the job market right now. In 5 minutes, I'm going to introduce the H1B process. So I will meet together with we have two attorneys on the call, Sujit and Sachin. So we will definitely explain everything about the cap exempt process. So if this is immigration related, please wait. Okay?
okay. So I have a question on the technology side. So the job market, like I worked as a mainframe programmer before.
Okay.
Now, how about the opportunities on mainframe side, and
Okay.
how about the new technologies that I should get involved in so that I can get placed in US. So
Okay.
I just
Sure.
want to know about new.
Thank you. All right. Kiran had a question about the mainframe technologies. There is still a market for mainframes. We indirectly work with two federal agencies. One of them is Lockheed Martin. We still see a lot of jobs on mainframes, but then it's not that good as it used to be 10, 15 years ago. I still see a lot of jobs, but I think you should move into. We need to get a copy of your resume to understand what are the skills and technologies you are currently working with. Before, this is a specific question to excuse me to help you with if you have to upgrade your skills so we can find a suitable project placement. Please please send an email to capexempt@hireitpeople.com with a copy of your resume. If you already have one, we have our moderator on the call, Kushbu Shah. So she's writing it down, and we will definitely get in touch with you within a day or two. Okay. Thank you, Kiran. Okay. I see. Good morning, Krishnamurthy. Please ask.
Hello.
Krishna, you're on the air. Please ask.
Yeah. See, currently I work in the telecommunication domain as a network programmer.
Mm-hmm.
I work with Dell, so basically into router and switch programming. So I didn't see you mentioning this domain when you were saying your list of clients.
Okay.
So just wanted to know whether will you be able to serve this domain as well.
Sure. I will answer. Thank you, Krishna. Okay. Now, as I first mentioned, we are a staffing company. Now, if you want to know what type of jobs we have on an ongoing basis, we serve every domain. We're not specific to let me put it in other words. Most of these companies like us, when we call ourselves a consulting company, we are not actually a consulting company. We are a pure staffing company where we take people and put them on site with our clients. So we have AT&T, we have DirecTV, something probably network telecom domain that you are working with right now. But I would advise that you visit our website, hireitpeople.com/jobs. When you go to the home page, you will see a search box right on top, and you can look for jobs. There is an RSS feed. You can subscribe to our jobs and see what type of jobs you are interested in. These are the jobs that we post that we get from our direct clients. Now, once again, as I said, we're not very picky or particular to some technology or a skill. Anything that the clients ask for. Tomorrow, one of our clients, they ask for a marketing person. So since we are staffing, since we wanted to keep the client, we sourced a senior marketing person, which has nothing to do with IT. So we work under all flavors. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. And if you need more information, please send a copy of your resume. If you don't have it, if you have not already done so, CAP Exempt, CAP, EXEMT, I'm sorry, at hireitpeople.com. Thank you. We'll try to take, okay, now, Lokesh, good morning. Please ask your question. Lokesh? All right. Good morning, Mayur. Mayur,
Yeah, good morning.
welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I have two questions. First question is that I am a SAP CRM ISU consultant. So I just wanted to know, like, what are the opportunities? Like, is it a good market there? Second is
SAP CRM.
yeah, SAP ISU CRM. Yeah,
Okay.
in other sense, like it's basically utilities domain,
Okay.
having SAP CRM as well as an ISU expertise. Now, second point is that whenever we are having when we join there as a with higher IT, in that case, like once we have a project, it is good. But at the same time, if there is a time frame in which we are not having any project for certain period of time, what would be the criteria in those cases?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So these two questions are there. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mayur. Okay. To answer your first question about SAP CRM, the CRM market for the tops right now for the CRM market is Salesforce. And we've recently seen job requirements from two clients. As you said, you have utilities experience. This is for one of the utilities company in California, in San Francisco. They have come up with, this was coming from Infosys, one of their major utility clients. They were looking specifically for people with any of the CRM, which can be tied into Oracle, Salesforce, SAP, or Siebel. So there is definitely a market for SAP CRM. But once again, keep in mind, the SAP jobs have been outsourced to India, and the market of SAP is not as it was 10, 15 years ago. But however, we do have clients right now who have been asking for candidates on SAP. Now, to answer your second question, which is often referred to as bench, we don't do benching. So the way it works, when we bring you in, we bring you on a project, 6 months or a year. Now, if there is any gap between projects, you are necessarily coming as a full-time employee. If, let's say, you are on a project in California, and after 8 months, the project has been completed, and there is a distance between two projects, say 15 days or a month, before we move you on to another client project, you will still be on a payroll. So we don't have the benching policy. So there is nothing like a bench. So you get paid irrespective of, you're on a project or you're not on a project. Now, someone might have another question. Now, will you pay me if I'm going to be at home for 3 months? No. If there is a project gap of a maximum of 30 days, I want to put this very straight. I know there is a lot of misconception about how this whole thing works, especially when you're working with consulting companies. If after a month, if there is no project, we will buy you a ticket to go home. And once we will bring you back again when there is a project, just to make sure that we are complying with the H1B visa regulations. Thank you. Welcome, Narendra. You're on the air. Please ask a question.
Hi, my name is Naindra. Good morning. Can I
Good.
know the market about the Microsoft desktop server?
Yes.
I'm working for the client Microsoft from
Okay.
past 5 years.
Okay. Sure. I can answer that. Thank you. All right. So coming back down to as he's already working at Microsoft, we work with one of our clients who actually implements projects at Microsoft. I haven't heard lately any top jobs with Microsoft BizTalk Server, but there have been like software development engineers in SDET jobs, and even SharePoint hasn't been so popular these days. There is some market for Microsoft BizTalk Server, but at this moment, I'm not very clear. I haven't seen any jobs coming, to be honest with you. In the last at least 2 or 3 months, I haven't seen any jobs on Microsoft BizTalk Server. But once again, when you send your resume, before we solicit any type of business with you or with our clients, we will ensure there is a market. This job placement might take anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks. This is not, I want everyone to keep in mind, this is not an overnight process. So process A, the first thing is to find an opportunity, get your resume for a professional return so we can present it to our clients, and B, then the H1B process, which we will talk in a few minutes. So I hope that answers the question. If you still are not convinced, if you need more information, once again, please send us an email at capexempt@hireitpeople.com. We will work one-on-one. We have a coordinator, a human resources manager out there in India, and we will coordinate from our offices in DC and New Jersey on an ongoing basis until we get you into the US on a job. Thank you. Raghavendra, please ask a question. Raghavendra, you there? Raghavendra Pratap Singh? Okay. Rajat Mathur, please ask a question.
Question was related to the H1B packages, so I would step as the
Okay, all right, thank you. Ramya, you have a job-related question? Ramya? Ravi Kumar Vanjarapu, you have a job-related question? Ravi? Sandeep Basi, you there?
Yes.
Okay, you have a job-related question?
Yeah. No, I just have a question regarding H1.
Okay, what we will quickly jump into, I still see a lot of people raising hands. It's a brilliant audience. We have a pretty good, a balanced audience where it's not too many. We have over 35 people for this session. So we'll quickly jump into the immigration part. I'm sure most of you you want to know how this whole thing is going to work. I think that's the priority. So I will quickly give an intro before we request the attorneys to explain more about the H1B cap exempt process. I still see, just give us a second. Okay, I see Surendra Kumar. I will try to open up your mic. If you have a job question, please ask. Welcome, Surendra. How you doing?
Yes. Yeah, Sujit, thanks a lot, Sujit, for your session. It's a wonderful session.
No, this is Dan.
Yeah. So, yeah, Dan. Dan, one question. I have H1B petition approved.
Okay, we are just getting there, Surendra. I haven't done, if there is anything job related at this moment. So I will do an introduction on the H1B visas and followed by an explanation from the attorneys. We have two attorneys on the call tonight. And I would like to again thank both the attorneys for staying up this late at 1:12. It's 1:15 a.m. here, early in the morning. and it's 10:30 or 11 in India. I will just unmute you for now. Okay.
Hi, this is Sujit.
Hi, Sujit. Okay, before we bring the attorney into the speech mode, now I will quickly give a heads up on what is an H1B cap exempt visa, because a lot of people, Sujit and Sachin, a lot of people have that question on can we still be H1B cap exempt. I will quickly speak for 1 minute. Now, if you have an H1B, if you've had an H1B visa in the past, let's say you had an H1B 15 years ago or 10 years ago, and you have at least traveled once, used the H1B visa. So you were here for 3 months and you left the country. You were here for 1 year, you left the country, you still have 5 years remainder on your H1B visa. Now, attorneys will explain more about this concept. Now, the second situation is when someone filed an H-1B visa for you, it was approved within the last 6 years, and that can be used to file a new H-1B visa, like an H-1B transfer, and you will not go through the H-1B annual cap, often referred today as the H-1B random selection lottery process. Now, the third question they have, my previous employer has not provided me any kind of documentation. There is something called a Freedom of Information Act. I would expect the attorney to speak more, which you can obtain copies of your H-1B documents, Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. File an application. It is free. It takes about 30 days. They will send your copies in a CD as long as your H-1B visa was filed. Now, I would like to push this over into Sujit and Sachin. If you can quickly give us an intro on your recent experience working with H-1B cap exempt candidates. I'm sure you have a lot of client companies who have been filing H-1B cap exempt petitions, people who are overseas. We also have callers, we also have participants within the US right now. I see some of them logged in from the US, and I see some of them are from Singapore, from different countries, so it's different time zones. As I said, it's a brilliant audience. Please, Sujit, please take over. Please give us an introduction on the H-1B exempt process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Hello, everyone, and good morning to everyone in India. So the way the H-1B program works is, in the past 6 years, if you've had an H-1B approved, and even if you've gone back to India, spent some time in India, you don't have to go back into the H-1B quota, so you can actually apply as what's called an H-1B quota exempt candidate, and therefore you can get a H-1B visa even if it's with a different employer and come back to the US and continue working. It's a quite simple process compared to the quota, because once again, you're not fighting with other people for a spot on the within the H-1B quota system. You already have that H-1B, you already have that H-1B visa that spot that you've retained, and therefore it's a pretty simple process for the employer to apply the H-1B for you. If it's applied in premium process, then USCIS adjudicates this in 15 days and gives us a response in 15 days as to what the status is. Once that's done, then you will go to the consulate, get your stamp, and then you can enter and start working. You don't have to wait till October 1st of the following year. You can actually start working immediately when your visa is approved.
Okay, Sujit, thank you. On behalf of the attendees, I would like to ask you a question. Now, when you said H-1B cap exempt, what type of documents that are required? I just spoke about freedom of information, but what can be used in terms of, to show that they are H-1B cap exempt? Say that they don't have a copy of the I-797. Is there anything that you recommend that can be used to show the immigration that these candidates are cap exempt?
Well, in the past, if they've gone out and if they've actually got a visa stamped on their passport, that would definitely help. Otherwise, we do recommend that they do file the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, try to get the documents first, because in some cases, if USCIS is not able to trace their case and not able to determine that they actually cap exempt, USCIS may issue a request for evidence, an RFE, and then we have limited time within which to actually get the documents to USCIS. So it's actually a good idea to get the FOIA process started. So, in case there is an RFE in the case, by then the FOIA may come through for you.
Okay. Now, one more question before I open up questions straight from the attendees. There was an interesting question. This is a popular question. Say a candidate has a stamped H1B visa, but he has not traveled to the U.S. Now, when we bring him on a project and we get a new H1B, does he or she need to go back for visa stamping? So can they use the existing unused visa, which is valid, to travel to the US with the new H1B from our company, or do they have to go back to the consulate and get a new H1B visa stamped on their passport?
If they've never traveled on that H1B, then we would recommend they go back to the consulate and get one stamped. Because when they enter, the CBP officer, CBP's Customs and Border Patrol officer may question them, and if the officer finds that they've never used that visa, that could be an issue for them. So in that case, we recommend that they would go back to the consulate and get a fresh visa stamped, and then they would come back in.
So if they already, let's say, we'll put it in another situation, another scenario. Someone has already used the visa, and they traveled at least once. For example, someone had an H-1B visa stamped in 2015, last year, which is valid up until 2017 or 18 for the 3 years, and they traveled at least once, and they went back to the home country. Can they still, when they get the new H-1B from our company, can they use that visa without going back to the consulate?
That could be possible. What we tell clients is when we do apply for them, to discuss with us, and on case-by-case basis, we can give them the right advice, because there may be situations, for example, where the other company may revoke their H-1B. There may be situations where USCIS may have sent an intent to revoke, or USCIS may have revoked it, and then USCIS may have determined that because USCIS revoked the visa, that they had never actually had the H-1B visa stamped. So there are various scenarios. So it is possible for someone to use the old visa stamp and come here, but we do recommend in those cases just discuss it with us on a case-by-case basis, and then we would be able to make that determination for you.
Okay, thank you. Now I will. I see a lot of hands raised here, so we will. I'll open up the callers, and I'm sorry, the attendees. I'm saying callers. Lately I've been doing some TV shows. So, Aditya, you had a question. Aditya, please, you're on the air with attorney Ramchand and Raval.
Yes. Yes. Thanks, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. My question to Sujit is, I'll just give a quick background. I was in US from 2009 to 2012, and I traveled back May of 2012, and I happened to leave my company in 2013. By January 2014, my visa was revoked. I wasn't aware about it. I recently learned about that. And I'm just trying to understand if my visa has been revoked. I'm not sure whether USCIS initiated it, whether my company requested for it. But I still have 3.5 years actually still left that I can be in US. So in my case, can I still think of approaching an employer to get my visa extended further?
Sure, thank you.
Aditya, in your case, we would need to know why the visa was revoked. So, for example, if there was some sort of a fraud in case of the old company, if there was a problem in the application, and if USCIS went back and retroactively revoked the visa because they determined that you never actually had it, then that could be a problem. But if for example, because you left the country, the company canceled the visa because you were no longer working, then you could still use it. So it is important to determine why it was revoked, and doing a FOIA would definitely help.
Okay.
So in that case, if you need to do a FOIA,
that would probably be the best way for you to go, and you would find out not just for now, but any of the future applications in the U.S. It would definitely help you to know what happened, what was the history in your immigration case.
Okay.
Dan, can you unmute Sachin also, please?
Okay. Sachin was also on the conference call, but for some reason, I don't see him on the attendees list. Sujit, I see you. Okay, there are two of you.
Yeah, please unmute both. Thank you.
Sachin, Sachin, can you speak up? You're on
yes,
okay.
I'm here now. Thank you very much.
All right, welcome, Sachin. So, I would like to ask the same question in a different way. Now, when Sujit said it could be that there's a possibility of fraud or misrepresentation, and the USCIS has revoked the H1B visa. Now, how is it possible, as a candidate, he worked at a client site, when, that was a great question, actually. Now, how would they know that there has been an administrative revocation for fraud, and if this was revoked due to fraud or misrepresentation by the employer, can they still use it for as cap exempt, or they become fresh and have to go back into the fresh H1B process? And what is the effect on their personal immigration status if they have worked with a fraudulent company and got into trouble? Please.
Sujit,
go ahead, Sachin.
Okay. Well, then that's a very interesting and very specific fact pattern, where you're saying that perhaps the employer engaged in some sort of willful misrepresentation in the initial H1B filing, and they subsequently revoked it. So I saw your question is a two-part question. First of all, how would they know? Well, when you do a FOIA request, your FOIA request is going to have a chain of actions, administrative actions, a notice of intent to revoke, and a notice of intent to revoke by USCIS is going to hopefully, if they follow their standard operating protocol, is going to have the list of reasons why the employment wasn't valid in the first place. For example, let me give you an example of this. You have a client-side manager. Let's say USCIS, let's say a H1B candidate or H1B employee was working at, let's throw out a random Fortune 500 company, Johnson & Johnson, let's just say. Johnson & Johnson, a client-side manager receives a phone call. The phone call says, the USCIS officer says, hi, this is just a random call, which nowadays USCIS is doing with FD&S site visits. Not only site visits, they're calling up HR at client side. And let's say the client side HR says, yes, so-and-so is working here. They say, okay, what is his job title? Now, let's say the end client gives a job title of marketing analyst, market research analyst. However, the H1B petition said something attuned to programmer analyst. Okay, this is just obviously this is a big inconsistency, but let's just say there is an inconsistency. The USCIS officer is not going to investigate further. As soon as it sees an inconsistency like this, their first reaction is, thank you very much, we appreciate it. They hang up the phone, and the employer then receives a notice of intent to revoke, outlining this particular inconsistency. Now, how would the employee know of that? Well,
right, Sachin, I'm sorry to cut you there, but my question is, now the employer has revoked an intent to revoke notice from the immigration, USCIS. Now, is there, as an attorney, is it possible for the employer or the attorney, if you're representing the employer, to share these type of documentation with the candidate, the beneficiary H1B worker?
Typically, whenever a company, it really depends on the company. If you find a very good IT consulting company that has transparency as its cornerstone, then it will facilitate that communication between employee, employer, and attorney. However, there are some instances where companies are, you understand what I'm saying, Dan, that not always a company wants to facilitate certain levels of transparency, unfortunately, and because it is an employer petition-driven case, attorneys are, are sometimes our hands are tied in the level of communication that we can give to employees. Of course, USCIS and the employer sort of, there's a disconnect between the employee, but unfortunately that's the way the game is. That's the way the game is.
Thank you. Before we take,
I think what Sachin is saying is that it just depends on the company. Some companies will let employees know, some companies will not. But we still recommend that the employees get the FOIA request, because that's the best way. And sometimes sometimes companies may not be honest with the employees.
Right.
Okay.
When you talk about honesty, I just want to just want the attendees to know, when with the immigration, we do understand when you come here, tomorrow you might not be working for our company. Now we have a shared document repository for every employee. So any documentation, immigration, you don't have to go crazy after a year, where is my documentation? So we ensure we give you copies of all documents. Now, one thing we've been stressing on freedom of information FOIA request. Now, can you quickly explain, one of the attorneys, to the attendees how they can open up an FOIA request and what is the process involved? As I said, there is no fee. I'm assuming there's no fee. But what is the simplest process they can do without necessarily filing any forms, the G693? What is the process?
Well, one of the easiest processes is, you can always contact an attorney such as us, and we can help you through it. Another very easy way for them to do it is, if for example, they are interested in working with you, they can request that they can give you consent, and they can say, Dan, please go ahead and help us, or help, or ask your attorney to help us get this. And those are two easier ways, because to receive documents in the U.S. for a U.S. attorney to contact the government and get documents is very easy. So anyone who's interested in working with you, and and your attorneys, that would be a very easy way to help them get the to get the FOIA documents to them, and then help them file.
And if I may add that, Dan, the U.S. government simply has to receive your FOIA request in writing. It's not necessarily required that the G639.
Okay, so Sachin, so if any of these attendees, we will share your email. If they connect with you to get help, I understand they cannot, it's not easy to use the India address, and because this is something legal matter, requesting related to the documentation. Use your form willing to help obtain, I'm sure, the attorney service is not free, but then is your firm willing to help them to obtain their documents?
We would absolutely be happy to help them. We understand individuals are looking to further their careers in this country, and we would be more than willing to facilitate that process. Absolutely.
All right, thank you. I'll take the next question. Amit? Hello? Amit, you still there? Hello? Yes, Amit. Please ask a question.
Yes, sir. Actually, my H1B has expired on 2014 end. So what is the way forward then?
All right, that's it? That's all you want to know?
Hello?
How many years did you work on it? 3 years?
Yeah.
So
actually, I got my H1B stamped on 2012, and I never traveled to US, and it is expired on 2014 end. After 2.5 years.
Okay, so
what should I do then?
Okay, let me interpret that. He had his H1B stamped in 2012, which is probably for 2 years or 2.5 years, and then it expired in 2014. I think Amit's question is he still H1B cap exempt?
Correct.
Sujit, can you answer that, please?
Yes, Amit, in that case, what you would do is, you would file as a H1B cap exempt, as an H1B cap exempt candidate, presuming that there was no revocation or there were no other issues in the petition. And we do have to say that because, you know, on the back end, we don't know what happened with your previous employer. And I can also tell you that, you know, in cases, for example, of fraud, you know, there have been, you know, IT companies that have not been reputable, and they have filed applications, and, you know, if USCIS has found problems with them, then USCIS has gone back to petitions that have been approved in the past and administratively revoked them. So presuming that you know, that there are no problems, you know, in the past in your petition, then, you know, you would seek to be a CAP exempt candidate.
Okay, thank you, Sujit. We have another question here. Deepak Rautre, please ask a question. Welcome, Deepak. Hello? Deepak, are you still there? Okay. Next one. Kiran Babu, you have an immigration question, H1B. Now, before we get there, I just want to remind everyone the information that you are getting on this webinar, even from the attorney, is not a legal advice. This is only for an information purpose, and your specific case might be different. So when we start working on your resume, and once we start onboarding you, we will ensure you are CAP exempt. So before we present your profile to our clients. Now, Kiran Babu, you had a question? Please.
Yes, Nandan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. Can you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Nandan. Yeah. So I just start with my H1B process done in the previous. Actually, the H1 is the initial H1 is opened in 2004, and I traveled to US in 2004, and my stay in USA is not continuous; it was intermediate, and I stayed there in US till 2009, and I used my H1 for about 3.5 years. So, and I moved back to India, and I joined in another company. So I continue. Now and my visa got expired in 2010, sometime in 2010. Okay, so am I eligible for CAP exempt?
I assume yes, you know, so Sujit, his question is, you know, he has a remainder on his, you know, H1B visa of about 2 or 3 years. He would like to know, can he still recapture? I think the answer is yes, but we'll still ask the attorney. Sujit or Sachin, can we answer Mr. Kiran about his, you know, the remainder, recapture of the remainder portion of his H1B visa?
Nandan, 1 second. I have another part of it. I will tell you once it is explained.
Please, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, you want the attorney to answer first, and then you want to add to your question, right? Okay.
Yes.
Sujit, you know, can you answer that, please? Or Sachin?
Yeah. Sachin, do you want to take it?
Sure, absolutely. Hi, Kiran. That's a good question. If you have been within an H-1B within the past 6 years, and you've had an H-1B, you've been in the country, your visa expiration date is not what is material. It is actually your presence in the country. So if you're saying you were here in 2010 and you still have a remainder time, as Dan said, yes, you should be able to recapture whatever remainder time is remaining on the total 6 years of the H-1B period.
Well, Kiran, what is your other question? What is the
recently I applied through another company using my previous H1, and it isn't under process, it is pending. So I got an RFE on that. So, and the RFE hasn't moved. It is almost 1.5 months. So I'm not seeing any anything happening on RFE side. So can I approach any other employees like higher IT people so that I can initiate new petition?
Yes, of course, I can answer that. Of course, once we are able to. Now, the biggest problem here, you know, since you, Kiran, it's definitely a good question. Now, since we are on this call, what we're trying to accomplish here is first bring you on a job, get you a job, and then file the H-1B visa. So it is very well known that you are approaching a consulting company and they file your H-1B visa. and maybe they start transacting with their clients after the visa in process. We don't work that way. Unless we have a confirmed client contract, which will make it easier to get an approval from the immigration, as you said, RFEs, and it is unknown if the employer has a viable job opportunity that they could file the H1B visa. And then if for some reason the visa gets, the H1B is approved at the immigration USCIS level in the US, now B, are you able to get a visa stamp? So to resolve this problem, it is pretty straightforward. We will not attempt to file any H1B visas because the H1B visa legally requires that the employer has a job opportunity available. We are not, although we are trying to give you a lot of information with the attorneys on immigration, so please keep this not as an immigration topic. This is how you can get benefited when we find you an opportunity, and how we can help you to migrate to the U.S. with as a non-immigrant on H1, and then help you with the green card, and keep you as an employee for coming years. Thank you, Kiran. We'll take the next question.
Dan, if I can say something to Kiran over here.
Sure.
Kiran, what Dan said is actually fantastic, because by Dan's approach of actually having a project in hand and then filing the visas, that actually minimizes the chances of RFEs and problems with immigration, because which means he's actually got the project for you, and he's able to justify the project at the application stage. There are companies that will just file a bare bone application and wait for an RFE, and at the RFE stage then try to justify the job. But actually what Dan is saying is that they will justify it at the application stage, which will actually even make a lawyer's job easier, because at that time USCIS gets the entire package, and USCIS is able to see that the job opportunity is available, and it will minimize the chance of an RFE.
Okay, just to add there, based on my experience as an employer, we have a lot of attendees today. If you are going to a consultancy, just to get that H1B visa, that's not the right thing to do. And you might also have an impact. Should there be a denial, you go to the consulate, your visa is not stamped, they deny your visa application. There is going to be a negative history on your immigration record with the USCIS as well as the U.S. Department of State, which are the consulates. So we are trying to make this more easier to ensure when you come here, you are coming with a job and you start making money from day one. So when we bring you here, there is nothing like we are going to market your resume or find a project. We will put you, engage you with one of our clients, and you go start working the day you land in the U.S. So we will take the next question. We have a lot of questions here. We'll try to Kodeshwar Naidu, please ask your question.
Hey, hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi, pretty good. How you doing?
Yeah, it's. I think I posted my question in the forum as well, but still, I have a confusion. I have two questions today, and the very first one is, I'm in India, and my previous employer was filed my H1B, but he didn't share any information, like even a receipt number also he didn't share with me. But sure, he filed and it is approved, and it is approved for 3 years.
Okay, let me ask you something. If he has not shared a receipt number with you, how do you know you're sure that it is approved for 3 years? So it's just a word of mouth, hearsay from friends and colleagues?
No. Actually, there is a policy in our company. In my previous company, they don't share with anybody, not only me. The information will not be shared with any employee. They will just say it is picked, and it is picked for this duration. If we have the position, we will make you travel. That's what the commitment with the employees. And I left the company, and now I am requesting them, and they are not interested to share, because if this continues, everybody will do the same. That is what their intention is. So they are keeping in that way.
Okay, I think
Now I'm
I think as Sujit or Sachin were explaining before, it is a good idea that you add before we conclude this webinar and after we will certainly share contact information of the attorneys. So if you would like to use their service, you can always approach the attorney, or we can help you as well. So the only way right now is to open up a Freedom of Information request and wait and watch. If what you are telling me is right, that they've actually filed. I've seen a lot of cases, people come to us and say, this is my receipt number. I trust my employer. We have my H1B was approved, but when we open the Freedom of Information request, immigration is unable to find any data related to that particular using the first, last name, date of birth, and the passport number. There is nothing. So before we attempt to work with you, work on your resume, we want to ensure that we have some document or some information from the immigration that you held an H1B visa at some point and you are CAP exempt. Anything else? Would that answer your question?
yeah, I said two questions I have, right? And
okay.
One is okay. And the other one is one of my friend is having I mean it's for my friend actually. Last time in 2015 he approached one consultancy and he processed his H1B, and in lottery the file was picked but it is not approved, it was denied. Can we do anything on this?
No, he has to go back into fresh process. There's nothing about it. So maybe his employer can connect with the attorney, and we have Sachin and Sujit. So maybe they can, if there is still time, they can appeal or motion to reopen the case. So this is a total different matter, not connected to what we are doing today. But he can, Sujit, can you quickly, comment on this question?
Yeah, CAP exempt only works if you were granted a status. So if you were denied, you were not granted that status.
Okay, thank you. Let's take the next question. Okay, Koti, B. Koti, if you can chat in your question. For some reason, I can't unmute you. I'm sorry about that. I don't know how you're connected, but I'm really sorry. For some reason, I can't unmute. Okay, Krishnamurthy, you had an immigration question, H1B.
Yes.
On the air.
See, my H1B last time was approved in year 2007, and I never traveled to US. You get my question?
Yes.
Yeah. But you were earlier saying that only if in the last 6 years the petition is approved, you will be considered as a CAP exempt. But I also saw for another candidate's question you were answering your 2004 approved case, and he stayed there for 3 years, and that is still possible. So I want to know, in my case, 2007 approved, expired.
Okay, so before I loop in the attorney, now in the other case, as I said, when I first explained, there are two types of scenario. If you can see my screen, if you have traveled to USA at least once using an H1B, irrespective of when it was issued, you can always, you don't get logged in for that last 6 years concept. Now the second situations is you have an H1B visa, and in the last 6 years it was granted to you. Now, I'm going to ask this question back into the attorney. The biggest question is what implies granted? Is it the approval date or the date of expiry? But then as an employer, we've had H1Bs which were expired 6 or 7 years ago and they were not used. We have used them to get another H1. So in my view, I don't think the immigration is very keen or very particular about when the H1B visa was granted. But however, I'm assuming there is always a risk, because in your case, it was in 2007, it's over 10 years now, or close to 9 to 10 years. So Sujit or Sachin, can you gentlemen?
One more question later.
You still have, your question is not complete?
Now, I have one more question. After maybe what I want to say
Okay,
is
I'll still keep you on. We'll ask the attorney to first answer the question one, and then we'll jump into the next question, so there's no confusion. Okay, Sujit, please, can you throw some light?
Yeah, you know what? Let me field this question as well, Dan. So,
thanks, Sachin.
Again, sure. So look, you have two options, and USCIS can interpret this in a multitude of ways, and this is a gray area of law. So, here's what I will say: that if you have been counted in the cap and was approved within the last 6 years,
Sachin, I'm sorry to interrupt there, but when you said gray area, can we make it more in layman terms? So the attorney said, yeah, please.
Okay. So when I say it's a gray area, what that means is that there's no clear-cut definitive answer from USCIS. There never has been, and it's unlikely that there will be because of so many other issues they're resolving right now. So what I will tell you is that how can you be cap counted? Okay, this is probably a question that a lot of people have, and they're raising their hands and asking. Okay, first let's start with this. If you were granted H1B status in the past 6 years, we like to go based upon the expiration, because we say in our way of arguing is that you were granted H1B even on that expiry date. Let's say the expiration date was 2010 of April 24th, 2010. That means if USCIS receives your application today, it's fine. That's one aspect. The second aspect is if you are filing abroad to reclaim any unused portion of the 6 years. So the gentleman who asked the question before, he had remaining portion on his 6 years. Now that was 2010, even let's say if it was over 6 years ago, the option to reclaim that, to get that remaining time is still available to him, in our opinion.
Okay.
Now, is that clear?
Yes. So can you? What was your? I think that answer. So it is unclear, but there is now one thing he said 2007. Now when did that expire? It expired.
2010 October. It was expired. September it was expired. That is first 3 years.
So the September of 2010.
Yes.
Okay, so as you know, Sachin explained, you probably still have until September to end that 6 years. Get out of the complete the 6 years. So you still have few more months. Maybe 4 or 5 months where it can be used for cap exempt. What was your other question?
Okay, so last year I went through another consultant and filed for H1B, and it got RFE and later denied.
Okay.
So from that I got understood that cap is still valid, because the denial reason was not any cap related. It was due to some employment relationship and the job title.
Okay, so you are yes, you are still probably you can be counted as cap exempt.
I would add to that and say your time being quite limited, if you should try to pursue this sooner rather than later.
Okay. Thank you. Let's take the next question. Kumare-san, please ask your question. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah. So actually my question is, I'm using the H1B, almost I just used for 5 years. I just traveled to US and come back to India. So mostly I just covered 5 years for the US, the H1B period. So, and now I'm in India almost for 1.5 years. Okay, if I do the H1B transfer now, will I be getting only the remaining period of the H1B, or will I be eligible for another 6 years, since I'm outside of interstate for more than 1 year?
Okay, I think the attorney can answer that better, but I can, as an employer, on the employer side, I will add as well after, we have some information from Sachin. Sachin, his question is pretty straightforward. He used 5 years, I'm out of the country for 1 year, would it reset my 3-year timeline? Obviously no, because he has to go fresh H1. But then if you can add to this, that'll be helpful.
That's absolutely correct. So the option that you have is to file again in the lottery for another 6 years. However, being out of the country for a continued period of 1 year does not give you the right to automatic 6-year extension. So what Dan said is absolutely correct.
Okay, so yeah.
Actually, I'll add something to that. I think you know, a better option for you would be this is Sujit, by the way. A better option for you would be to come into the country as a cap exempt, but find a good but find an employer who'd be willing to file a perm labor for you. You know, because if you have a perm labor certification filed, and the perm labor certification is at least filed 12 months out, then you will be able to continually renew your H1B for 1-year periods based on AC21. And once your I-140 is approved, then you'll continuously be able to renew your H1B for 3-year periods. So instead of trying to get a new H1B in a new lottery quota, and right now, you know, we have over 200,000 applications filed for 85,000 slots. So I would say your best option is come in as a cap exempt, but as soon as you come in, file a perm labor certification, you know, towards a permanent green card. By filing that perm labor certification, you will be able to continue to renew your H1B.
Okay, so just to add there, if we work with you and we are able to find a project placement, then in your case, since you only have a year, as soon as you go on board with our company, you become an employee. Since you don't have the time frame that we need to get a perm approved and then a possible 140 approved to extend your H1B, we will help you file as soon as possible to ensure you remain in the country. Now, as Sujit explained, now once your 140 is approved, you can extend the H1B in the multitudes of 3 years perpetually until you get your green card. So let's say if the visa numbers for Indian nationals are going to be backlogged for the next 20 years, you still can go in the multiples of 3 years forever, keep your H1B visa. I hope that answers your question. You have any other questions, or should we move on to the next?
Thanks, Dan. Dan, one more question from actually my spouse also, right? She's also more.
Actually, I have a separate H1B, Dan. So the same case with
I'm sorry. Can we know who's on the call? What is your name, please?
This is Ramya Radhakrishnan. I am also in the attendees list.
Okay.
Okay, I have the same question as Kumaresan. Like I also use 5 years quota in my H1B, so I have remaining a 1-year period left over. So what so are the same case apply for me as well?
Of course. Of course.
Because you were telling about the perm label for Kumaresan, so if that is the case, so what can I do? So do I need to find because
right, so you know, you are two different people, although you are, you know, a husband wife, but you know, for the H1B, you have an H1 and he has an H1, so it's the same concept even for you to, you know, since you have completed 5 years, you still go through the same process that a perm has to be applied, and then we move you, we get the 140 approved, or if the perm is pending for over 12 months, we still use it to file extensions in the multiples of 1 year, or, you know, if the 140 is approved in the multiples of 3 years. So the same rule applies even for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Now, I just want to add there, you know, situations where the 140s that we file, now there is a new regulation recently, I think this year, last year, once your 140 is approved, then the spouse, if you are going to come on an H4 visa, you will probably be eligible to get an employment authorization work permit, which is called an EAD. And some of you, if you are here, maybe you're not aware that an employer has filed a 140 for you, so check your records. So if you were here for 5 years, it is possible that, you know, some employer has opened up a perm and a 140 is approved. So you should also talk to your employers. If they're not willing to share the data, you should actually go back, put an FOIA request, and see if there is any. I'm not sure. We will ask the attorney about getting documents of 140 related documents. Sujit, can we add something there? Is it possible under the Freedom of Information Act that they can get copies of the perm and 140 if one has something?
Well, what we can do is when they give us consent, we can try and get all the documents that immigration is sharing under their name, and then we can go from there. So their consent's going to cover documents under their name, and then at that point we're going to see what immigration is going to be sharing with us. The other thing I would say is also, most people will know whether or not their employers have filed I-140s for them because at that point, the employer would have discussed that with you. Employers don't, because a perm and an I-140 is a pretty expensive process, and that's great, Dan, that you're willing to do it for employees coming on board, because I know that there are many consulting companies who sometimes do tell employees that they're going to do it and they don't, and the fact that you're willing to do it for them is fantastic. But because it's an expensive process, there has to be advertising in the newspaper. There has to be a perm file with Department of Labor, an I-140 file. There's a lot of attorney fees and government fees involved. So employers would generally share it with them, and they would know generally if something's been filed.
Okay.
If I may add to that, Dan, to answer your question about whether the perm and the I-140 would come out on a FOIA request. Of all the FOIA requests we've done thus far, USCIS has responded on the CD with the I-140, the ETA 9089, which is the labor perm certification, in the CD itself so far. Will that be the pattern moving forward? Only God knows, but based upon our history, yes, USCIS will send it.
And Sachin, and what was the worst case scenario? What is the time frame? I've seen when we opened a request, it took almost 30 days. So have you seen anything coming earlier than 30 days or longer than 30 days? What is the approximate time frame they can expect a CD of their documents from the USCIS or any other government agency?
Sure, I'll tell you. We submitted a case in late December, and it took them almost 2.5 to 3 months to get the documentation because what happens is after a while USCIS puts everything into our
I think we have a feedback. Someone's I'm going to mute Kumarasan, so there's a feedback. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So it did take a couple of months, and the reason why is because after a certain amount of time, USCIS puts these files into a vault, right? And for them to go and get the documents out of the vault, it sometimes takes longer. If your case is a fresh case, it takes short time depending on the age of the file itself. So I would be conservative, and I would allocate as much time as possible, not go based on the 30-day figure, but even go longer than that. If there's, for example, a lot of our names are not unique names, so they cross-reference. They sometimes take a very long time, and when you don't have the employer's consent or the employer as a collaborator on the FOIA request, there are so many other challenges. So I recommend, give yourself upwards of 2-3 months in advance. It doesn't hurt, right? You start the process now. Okay. It's better to start it now.
Right. So to just ask another question there. I'm sorry to cut you there, but then now some of these candidates that we have on the call, they are working for large employers like MNCs. Now I'm sure they have this question in mind. What if I open a Freedom of Information request? Would the immigration notify my current employer, putting my current job in jeopardy? So when they open, let me put it this way: is it possible that the immigration will send a notification to their existing employer? Say, for example, somebody's working as an MNC, as a programmer at an MNC in India, and they filed the H1, they have an approval, but then they're not sending them to the U.S. Now one of them just mentioned, I'm assuming that guy is working with an MNC when they said he's 100% sure that the visa is approved, but it's a policy of the company not to share any documents. So when they open the Freedom of Information request, is it possible that the employer gets notified?
Is it possible? I would say yes, but is it likely? I would say no, because what happens is with the FOIA request, we file a G28. The form G28 is the attorney representation, which means USCIS most 99% of the time is going to communicate directly with us.
No, what I meant by employer is the previous employer who filed the H1.
No, I would say the chance is very unlikely.
Okay.
Very unlikely.
All right.
Well, Dan, the other thing in the scenario is, if again, you have especially if an attorney is involved and an attorney is filing a G28, right? Even if the other employer sees this and the other employer sees that an attorney is requesting it, the other employer is unlikely to call up the attorney and say, why did you request this? So there's again a barrier between the candidate and the employer, because if they see the candidate's name, they're more likely to contact the candidate and question them, but see an attorney involved, employers sometimes back off and say, let's not question an attorney in this case.
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind also.
Okay. We have another participant here. Lal Singh, you're on the air.
Hello.
Yes. Hi.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Yeah. So my question is like, if I'll go for H1B transfer, so I had in the starting that we have to go for premium process. So that can we go for a normal process? If yes, then what is the timeline, minimum timeline to get it approved?
No, yes. This is a question to me. So if we have to engage you with one of our clients, we will not do any normal process because my client will not wait. Right now, the normal processing is taking about 8 to 9 months. So once again, this whole webinar is about providing a job opportunity with giving you a benefit of the H1B. So this webinar is not about, making my client wait for 9 months before we get you as a resource into our client side. So the answer straight to be honest with you, it is a no. We are going to, the way we're going to work, since you are overseas and we're going to give some kind of a deal to our clients, definitely obviously on the pay rates that, they work with you. So the maximum that we can request a client is probably 4 to 6 weeks, before we can deliver you. We will not go through normal processing. Once again, let me add there again, we are not doing this like a consulting company where we file your H1 and then, you want to come whenever you'd like. I hope I answered your question. Is there any other question?
Yeah, thank you. So one more question is like my H1 was approved in 2015. I got my I-797B from my last employer, and they revoked it. When I asked them question, they said like, since you are no longer with us, we requested you ICIs to revoke your H1B. So I hope I'll still be under a cap exempt and I'll be eligible for next 6 years, right?
Okay, I think I will, put this question back to the attorney in a different way. But before I get there, was this revoked before October, 1st of October, before it started, its validity, or it was?
No, it was revoked in November.
Okay, so gentlemen attorneys, his H1 2015, it was revoked in the month of November 2015. His question, is he still cap exempt?
You should be cap exempt in that case if it was revoked in November and not October. And again, I say that, presuming that there were no fraud issues and presuming USCIS didn't administratively revoke this, if it was just canceled by the employer because, because the job opportunity didn't exist or because you didn't come after the 1st of October, it's a different scenario than before the 1st of October. Because it was canceled before the 1st of October, that was never activated because the activation date is October 1st.
Okay, thank you. Lansing, I think that answers your question. I will move into the next. Thank you.
Before you go to the, Dan, this is Sachin. Before you go to the next question, I just want to let you know that I have, because we were talking about H4 EADs previously, I have sent you an article that Sujit and I have authored last year on H4 EADs, frequently asked questions, so that you can share it with whoever you think it would be beneficial for. Sorry.
Sure, I will. Thank you. All right, Lakshmikant.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. So, Dan, I have a question on regarding the H4 visa. Okay, if let's say if my wife wants to work on the H4 visa, will she be allowed to work on that?
These, as we've been talking about it just now, they're not eligible to work on an H4 visa. But however, if, you join our
Yeah.
company, we initiate a green card process for you. After you get there's something called the 140, the second stage of the green card process, which might take up to a year or a little over a year, anywhere between a year and 18 months. So once you pass that stage, then your wife will become eligible to receive a work permit. But when she comes,
But what I
Mhm.
Yeah, damn, sorry to interrupt, but what I understand from the new law that has been passed in the US, that your spouse will be eligible to work on the H4 visas. So if she is been doing on practicing the niche technologies.
Okay.
So is that
No,
correct, or I mean,
no, it's
yeah.
not. So, let me put it this again. The new law, we will definitely go back to the attorney, but then the new law only when you have your 140 approved. So the second part of the green card process, when that gets approved, then she will be eligible to file a request for a work permit, which is often referred to as an EAD card. So when she is accompanying you to the US, joins you in the US as an H4 visa holder, she is not eligible to work. I will definitely take a comment from one of the attorneys. Sachin, can you add in there? We were just talking about it. Hello?
This is Sujit, Dan. So the H4 EAD law, giving H4s the right to work, is not for every H4. It's only for H4 dependents of H1B spouses who have made certain steps towards a green card. So it's only after you have moved towards getting your green and then have taken certain steps towards the green card, only then are you eligible. And there was a reason for this, because the green card process in the US, there was such a lag for the green card process, and spouses, dependents of H1B visa holders, were basically waiting for years and years and years and not having the ability to work, and therefore wasting their career. So, in light of that, what the government in the US did was they said, H1B visa holders who have made steps towards their green card, it's their spouses who are eligible, and not just an H1B holders who enters the U.S. So as soon as you enter the U.S., as Dan said, it'll take you a year to a year and a half to move towards that process. Once you move towards that process, at that point, your spouse will become eligible.
Okay, thank you. We will
Dan, Sachin's gotten muted accidentally. Can you please unmute him?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Mayur, you have an H1B question?
Yeah, hi, thank you. Thank you for unmuting. My question is that I have I-797B copy with me, approved copy. Apart from this, I still need to go for this FOIA request to get all the documents, or this document will be sufficient?
That's sufficient. You don't have to.
Okay, and then overall, if my wife has H4 visa, so she can go for H1B also in that case, if she finds a suitable employer in that case.
No, is she had an H1 before?
No.
No, then she has to go through the annual cap. She has to file for an H1 next year. She's not cap exempt. She can accompany you again as an H4.
Okay. And my third question is that
having an H4 visa would not make someone eligible for an H1B visa. H1B and H4 are two different visas.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
But being with me in US, she can file for a quota system, and once approved, then she can.
Yes, exactly.
The third question is that Yeah, my third question is how, like overall, once we start the process with your company, or maybe we can discuss on that, but like overall, how much time frame are we expecting to get overall this process done?
About 3 months, because we will submit your resume to the client, then the interview process. One of our associates from India will connect with you to and will work with you. We will probably run an interview locally in India before we submit your resume or candidature to our clients. So we want to ensure you're a finished product and you have the necessary expertise and experience, and you qualify to be a good resource for one of our clients. So sooner or later, probably in the next 1 week, we will have someone connecting with you, and maybe you will they will set up an appointment with you, meet with you, and speak more about your background. Then once that process is done, then we start referring your resume back to our clients. So this whole process should approximately take from acceptance by the client, the engagement by the client, through the H1B, application process with immigration, and then your stamping. We're talking about anywhere between at least 3 to 4 months. But then, if we had a client, we recently had I have to give you an example. One of my clients was looking for a like a Java backend tester, and we had one candidate, just like you, Cap Exempt. We told the candidate that we can deliver this, we told the client we can deliver the candidate in about 4 weeks. The candidate was interviewed, and then we filed the H1B in premium processing. Now he's working in Texas with AT&T. So it could be, but if I, but in general cases, it should take about 3 to 4 months.
Okay, got your point.
Thank you. Narendra, you're on the air.
Hi, Dan.
Please ask. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, doing good, thank you. Then I'm having the H1B approved copy, and I have attended the interview on 2008.
Okay.
And obtained a 221G blue form, and it's a validity of the H1B is 2008 to 2011.
So
still
so you had a 221G, and then your visa was never stamped?
No, it was not stamped, and my employer has not responded for the blue form. 221G, he has not responded to it.
Okay, so this is something we need to ask the attorney, but as far as I know, I'm sure when they have not responded, the consulate has sent the case back to the immigration, and it is most likely that your H1B was revoked by administrative revocation by the USCIS. So Sujit,
no, recently I have checked the site where the USCIS is there, the tools is there. I've given the receipt number. It's showing the case was approved on the so-and-so date, and it's no other further status is showing that.
Now, sometimes, as far as I know, not every time the information that you see on their website is accurate. So sometimes it does not get updated, but we will definitely ask the attorney. Sujit, he went for a consular interview, and Sujit or Sachin, and he had a 221G blue form, and asked for probably some kind of documents like, employer-employee relationship or client, and the employer has not responded. So in my opinion, I think, since they have not responded, the case was sent back to the immigration, and immigration might have contacted the employer to overcome the grounds of denial. So can you please add to this, help us with this? This is an exceptional question. I think this is the best today's show. Today's webinar. Please, Sujit.
Sure. In his case, in your case, I would say definitely get a FOIA. Definitely do a FOIA. In that way, you'll know exactly what's going on in your case. It's more likely than not, as Dan said, that the consulate did follow up and did let immigration know what was going on. But find out from the FOIA request what's happened. But there is also a chance, if they haven't revoked it, you can, if they administratively haven't revoked it and you find that out, you can give it a shot. And no,
we don't want to, as an employer, Sujit, because this involves a lot of money, because we don't want to give it a shot. So I would definitely, as you know, before, if we have to engage resource with one of.
I think Sujit meant to give the FOIA a shot, right?
Go ahead,
Sujit?
Sean. Okay, I thought you guys wanted to give us a shot and we spent $5,000 and then nothing
No,
happened.
no, no, no.
Right.
I meant it's worth it to give it a shot by actually getting the FOIA request done.
Okay.
And find out what's going on in your case. So you know, I mean, because a lot of people will think that I'm in India now, forget it. But I would say give it a shot and get your FOIA request done, because it's not just for this particular scenario. Even in the future, you may want to travel to the U.S. Even in the future, you may want to seek some other benefit to the U.S. And it's really good to know what's going on in your case.
Okay, thank you. I think that answers his question. Navneet?
Yeah, and also,
Navneet,
one more thing to the previous question, just so you guys know that the consulate system, the consulates use a PIM system, okay, PIMS, and the USCIS system is a completely separate system. So a consulate status does not always reflect what is on the website. I'm sorry, continue. I just wanted to add that, so that they know.
Thank you. Thanks for that info. Now, Navneet, you're on the air. Hello?
Hi there.
Hi.
My question is almost similar to the previous one. My H1 was filed on 2013 and a subsequent query got raised. I have I-797 copy with me, but the 220G query was raised and it had a validity of 1 year to respond, and my employer or the consultant responded, which again raised another 221G query, and that has not yet been answered. So, in short, the query is,
please, sorry, go ahead.
The revocation has not yet happened because I have not received any email or not anything from the consultant. So my question is still, do I still stand to apply for an H1 exempt?
Okay, I can answer that. Possible, but then as the attorney was explaining, it is a good idea. Why we've been, the attorneys have been stressing on freedom of information, opening a request, is that you will get copies of all your immigration documents, whatever they can share with you, and you exactly know what transcribed after your 221G, the second query from the consulate was not answered, and what happened, the aftermath after the consulate has not received any response in whatever the stipulated given time of a year or 6 months. Now, then what happened after, usually as far as I know, the consulate contacts the immigration and the immigration sends out a letter to the employer giving 30-day time window to answer. So we do not know at this moment. So what I strongly recommend that, you open up a freedom of information request and see what has happened with your case. So if everything is okay, we have the proper documentation, then we will work with you to find another opportunity and file your H1B as a cap exempt.
But in my case, I know the reason why he is not, consultant has not applied. I mean, basically he lost interest due to the frequent 221G query being raised. So,
okay. No,
in fact, he has not.
It's again, the employer has lost interest, or he doesn't like it or he likes it. So it's not about employer's personal interest when the U.S. government is involved. There is a process. There are regulations that U.S. consulates do follow, and it's not about their personal interest or a business interest which will change anything the way the government process works. So you still have to go through the freedom of information request and see what documents we can get. And as the attorneys were explaining, we would still not go with what is, Sachin just explained, the consulates go with the PIMS database as opposed to the system that the immigration follows. So these are not interconnected. So you may not get an email or more information on what happened with the case. So I would still, most of you, I'm surprised there are so many people who need this kind of data. So we will definitely share an article or something with you in the next coming days, probably by Monday, how we can help along with the attorney's firm to first get copies of your documents and then parallelly work with you on your resume and any prospective client interviews. Would that answer that, Navneet?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Dan.
Nitin, you're on the air. I would like to quickly move this on because it's 2:30 for us. I think we looks like one of the attorneys already slept. I'm just kidding, but let's go with your question, Nitin. I do have a lot of static there. Nitin, are you? Okay, I'll have to mute you because we have a lot of noise. Nitin, can you hear me? Can you speak up? Okay, looks like Nitin's phone's got a problem. I think you are connected by a computer, so there is, I think, the internet problem. Nitin, you can, post a question on the chat. I will still see if I can answer that or have one of the attorneys answer your question if it is immigration related. But let me move on to the next person. We have Raghavendra Pratap Singh. You still there? Hello? Okay. Okay, Rajat Mathur.
Yeah, hi Dan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, we also have Sujit and Sachin on the call. So if it's an immigration question about H1B, please shoot.
Yes. Dan, my case is somewhat different. Like I was selected in H1B lottery in the financial year 2015, and it was approved. And I went for stamping to Delhi consulate in September, and I got a 221G white slip. And the request was for the end client. But my sponsor told me that the end client refused to give any documentation to support immigration process. And they rather suggested me to attend interviews from India and get some other projects. I can submit those papers. But the 221G admin deadline was only for 3 months, and the period duration November and December was like it's a kind of holiday period in the US, and most of the times they were either looking for the candidates who can join a week of time, which was not possible in my case, or they were expecting a face-to-face sort of interview at the final time. So I had a good chance with the Facebook, I had a good chance with Nike, but I could not go further with them. And in that time, that a 3-month duration was expired. Then in January, my sponsor secured another project for me, but this time they said that since the 3-month deadline is over, so it doesn't make any sense to go to Delhi again. They asked me to go to Hyderabad for a fresh stamping. I went to the Hyderabad along with my family, my wife and my daughter, and we all three got stamped. But just after 2 months, in March, I again got a call from the Hyderabad consulate, and they called me and they said that they have issued the visa by mistake and they have to cancel it under cancel without prejudice. So this is my situation. So my visa is cancelled under cancel without prejudice. So I just need to know like what the other option that I have as of now.
Okay, as far as I know, I think you still probably use it cancel without prejudice. So, but we will definitely ask this question to the attorney. We still have bunch of other Sujit and Sachin. Would you like to take a quick break for 5 minutes? I really want to take a break. Probably have a coffee because we are like early 2:30 a.m. in the morning. But before we go with Rajat's question, we will take a quick 5-minute break. And we'll come right back and answer Rajat's question. I need to really grab some coffee. Please bear with us. Sachin and Sujit, if you want to grab a coffee or something, please. Okay, we'll take a quick break.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. Let's continue. I hope we still have Sachin and they're back. Sachin and Sujit?
Yes, we're back.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we've had a question from Rajat. So can we quickly answer his question?
So what was the reason why, I know it was denied without prejudice, but what was was a reason provided when you're saying that you received a phone call from a consulate officer, which first of all, receiving a phone call is not the typical route that they take, but you received a phone call. What exactly did they say? What transpired on that call?
Rajat, are you still there? I think we lost him. We'll go on with the next question. I think we already had Ramya. Ramya, I think your question was answered. So you still have another question, or should we move on with the next participant? Okay. Now, Ravi Kumar. Ravi, you have a question? Ravi, you still there? Okay. Sandeep Basi, you have a question? Sandeep? I think they, since they logged in from a computer, most of them have audio problems. I think next time we should use an India number so people can call in. Saurabh?
Yeah, hi Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I have two questions. One is for the attorney. My current employer has filed an H1B last year in 2015, and it got approved. And if I file FOI, because they're not giving me the I-797 forms or any other like hard copies of documents, I only have a petition number, which I used to check in the UCS site, and it got approved. And apart from the petition number, I don't have anything else. So if I file a FOI request right now, so will my company is likely to get informed that FOI is raised against them? And if it is raised, can they revoke or withdraw the petition? And in the case if they withdraw the petition, am I cap exempt for the current year or not? This is my first question.
Okay. Before we go to the attorney, as far as I know, when you open up a Freedom of Information request, it is very unlikely that the immigration will contact your employer, intimate your employer, and tell them that, you know, a Freedom of Information request was sent to them. But then we'll check with the attorney what is his take on the on this, you know, this particular situation. Mr. Sujit or Sachin, can we expand on this question, please, this answer?
Sure. So, you know, we once handled a FOIA request. Actually, we've handled many FOIA requests, but in one particular instance, we applied for a FOIA request for an I-140 for an individual. You know, the I-140, like the H1B, is employer petition. The employer did not receive any information that the FOIA had been filed. I agree with Dan. I said earlier too, it is very unlikely. Can I guarantee it? Can Dan guarantee it? Even USCIS cannot guarantee it. But it is very unlikely that the employer is going to receive a notice that a FOIA request has been submitted by you.
Okay. Saurabh, do you have another question?
No, for the same question, if my employer gets to know that the FOIA request is raised, can they revoke the petition? And if they revoke the petition, am I cap exempt for the current year?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, please. Sachin, please.
If in the unlikely event that your employer has come to know that you have submitted a FOIA request, they can do anything that they want. They can revoke the petition. They can say that it is no longer valid. But does that take away your cap exempt status? Not necessarily, no, it doesn't. But, you know, like I said, knowing what the employer is doing on that side is very, you know, there are a lot of facts. It's a fact-driven place. If the job was valid at the time of filing it and you were cap counted and now they subsequently revoke it, no, you're not going to be, I mean, you know, you will still be cap exempt, and Dan's company would be able to file a transfer for you.
Okay. Thank you, Saurabh.
Yes.
Okay, Sri Lata Suvarna, you have a question? Sri Lata?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, I have my H1 got approved in the year 2014, July 2014 to be precise. And, you know, I do have my approval notice. My employer did share it with me. I mean, though he took a year's time to share it, but I do have like, and I've got it checked through an attorney also that it is very much valid and, you know, like, very much in a valid state. The only question that I have is like, if I find a new employer, I mean, through you guys, and what happens is like when I go for H1 stamping, since I traveled to US before I filed this H1, that is I returned to India in the month of March 2014, and the same year my H1 was filed. I have traveled on a tourist visa, and I was visiting my friends and just taken a break from work. I was on vacation, so I have traveled in 2015 also. So would that be a roadblock for getting the visa stamped? That's the question I have.
I don't think so, because you know the tourist visa B2B one that you've used, a total different visa. These are two different items. H1B and B1 B2 are totally entirely different. I don't think, but we will definitely ask Sachin about this. Sachin, if I'm not wrong, do you agree that this will not be a roadblock as she or the flight block? So what is your suggestion on this?
Sure. If you're, so, you know, I was a little bit confused on the chronology on time. If you can just tell me, when did you enter the country on the B visa?
I entered the country on B2 visa on September 20th, 2013. I returned to India on, I guess, 10th of March 2014. That is like 5 months, 20 days stay.
Perfect. That's why I asked. I wanted to make sure that you did not violate the present status that you had when you were in the country. And of course, you went back to India well within the 6-month range, which I assume is what you're given permission for. There were no special restrictions on your visa. You know, there's so many different facts, but speaking in generalities, as long as you have not violated one visa, there should not be a roadblock for the other visa. So in your instance, as long as you maintain all the legal things of legal requirements of the B2 visa, then your H1B visa will not be impacted negatively.
Okay.
I would also add over there, you know, the consulate may ask you this, so be prepared as long as you haven't worked in any capacity on the B visa. Keep that in mind. Sometimes they pop that question. You know, while you were in the U.S., did you do any work? So as long as you haven't worked in the U.S. because a B visa doesn't permit you to work, as long as you haven't, so as long as you haven't worked and you haven't violated other requirements of the B visa, you're fine.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I haven't violated anything. I was just touring and visiting like a lot of places.
Because especially when someone stayed here for 5+ months, a consulate may pop that question and you may not expect it. You know, oh, you were there for 5 months, so where did you work? And sometimes people say, oh, at a grocery store. Then they got you.
Oh, well, I mean, that wouldn't come from me because I've actually not worked. I mean, I've just been to like almost 10 states in 5 months. So I think I have a valid explanation.
So have your answer prepared. That was long vacation and the places I went to. Be confident. Be confident.
I also recommend having an itinerary. Keep an itinerary with you. Just moving forward, as someone who has traveled to the U.S. in the past on different visas, you should maintain an itinerary. When did you enter? When did you exit? Don't just rely on the CBP I-94. You know, if you visited 10 states, go ahead. You can keep a track. You know, I visited this state for this purpose, this state. It doesn't hurt to have information. It only hurts to have misinformation. So you keep consistent information and you keep your immigration history, and I don't see a roadblock for higher IT. You should be in good shape.
Okay, so I think we can provide your project placements in one of these 10 states, so you're pretty familiar with the 10 states. We will move on with, thank you, Srilata. We will move on with the next question. Soumya, you're on the air. Soumya, are you still there?
Hi. Yeah, I'm there. Hi, my question is, I do have like 4 years left on my visa, and I do have my proper approval notice.
Where are you? Are you in the US or are you in India?
I'm in India right now.
What part of India?
Bangalore.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, the approval notice is valid till October 2017. And while I was in US, I did ask one of the other employer to file my H1 transfer. This was like September 2015. And I did get an RFE on September 25th, but for unfortunate situation, I had to leave US. Like I traveled on September 30th, and I came back to India. And my RFE was answered in December, but it did not go through. And I did get a denial notice on the fresh H1 transfer. So what do you think is the best way to tackle this?
Right. So as the attorney explained before, although you are new, what typically we call the extension H1B transfer was denied, and you were already cap exempt when you filed this. So I do not think your denial will have any impact of you being cap exempt for.
Yeah, that's.
Excuse me. For.
But I still have.
You still have.
That will be a kind of a.
You still have the 4 years.
Will it be a black mark on my visa? Like, will they track that?
Again, I think this is an answer to the question to the attorney. Now, would that become a black mark? As long as, there was no fraud or misrepresentation by either of you, either the beneficiary or the employer, the denials can be for several reasons, maintenance of status or employer-employee relationship, client letter, project issues.
Yeah, that was the reason it was denied with employee-employee.
So in my opinion, I don't think that could be a black mark, but we'll definitely shoot this back into the attorneys. Can we please comment on this, Sujit or Sachin?
Yeah, sure. So in this case, if the denial was reasons related to the employer and not reasons related to you, then it's unlikely to affect you. Now, if you were, let's say employer X filed for you, and you were denied, and employer X is filing another petition for you, for the same type of job, then they might scrutinize that petition even more because employer X's first petition failed. But now, if let's say IT Hire or if some other company is filing for you, and the first denial was because of that employer's problem, then it may be easier for the application to go through because now this is a completely different employer. But if the denial is because of some reason related to you, then they may definitely scrutinize you again when you apply through even a new employer.
So, if I may ask, do you have an IT background?
Yes, I do. I do have an IT
excellent.
background.
Was the job that the transfer was applying for, was that an IT related job?
Yeah, it was an IT related job. What happened was I was there on September 25th. We got an RFE. Even before we were able to answer, my dad passed away. So I had to leave the country.
We're very sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks.
Okay.
So you
and I didn't have it.
I understand. So it seems from what you're telling us, exactly what Dan said and exactly what Sujit has mentioned, that it was a job that was in the IT domain. You as a beneficiary qualify for the IT based upon your education. It seems like this wouldn't be something that that would be a black mark for you. Okay, I think you should be okay based on what you're telling us.
Okay, thank you. And I do have one more question.
Sure, please.
In 2009 December, I traveled on L1 and I was back on October 2010. I got my H1 in 2012. I traveled in November 2012. So what I've been told is, though I have traveled on my L1 and I did have 2 years gap, my L1 stay does not count, and I still be eligible for 6 years of fresh H1. Is that true? I just want to confirm that.
Sure. If I may answer that, yes. You know, you spend more than 1 year outside of the country. You are counted fresh in the cap, so you know you should have 6 years available to you. Yes.
Right. So just to add there, Soumya, now the 6 years you will get only when you go for a fresh H1, not when you are recapturing or using H1B cap exempt. So if you are using H1B cap exempt, I think your L1 period, if you spend 1 year on L1 and 2 years on H1, so you have already lost 3 years. So you will have 3 years left on your visa for H1. Both L1 period and H1 period is counted.
Correct. Yeah, I know that. So, but I did have like 2 years out of the country. My L1 does not count as
but still
viable.
the H1B cap exempt, no, it will still count. You know, since you are going to be using the H1B, going through the H1B cap exempt route rather than filing for a fresh, you know, cap H1 next year or, you know, this year. Okay.
Soumya,
No,
were you
I'm confused.
cap exempt after staying out of the country for 2 years? Sorry, were you cap counted after staying out of the country for 2 years?
No, no. See, I did have L1 in the beginning, and I got my H1 through my employer. Like that was later. I was completely out of my L1. So though the L1
Was there a 2-year gap? Let me rephrase the question. Soumya, was after you finished your L1, you went back to India. You spent, from my understanding of what you said, and maybe I misunderstood, there was a 2-year gap between the H1B cap selection, or were you on L when they applied for you in the lottery and then you were selected? Please tell us the chronology.
Yeah, see, this is what happened. I traveled on December 2009, came back to India on October 2010, though the L1 was valid till September 2012. Okay, my project was over, so I was back in India, and I switched to a different company. I joined another company, and they initiated my fresh H1. And I worked in India for the company, and then I got my H1 by Jan 2012, and I went to stamping in August 2012 or something. And when they gave the stamping on my passport, they cancelled my L1, whatever is available on the passport, and they gave me a fresh H1 stamping. That's how I got it. And I traveled in November 2012.
So you were in India when they applied for your H1B?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a fresh H1, and I was in India.
And you were already in India for over 1 year?
Yes.
Yeah, Sheila,
2 years I was in
why don't you send us an email, you know, explaining the chronology, and I think, you know, we still have more questions. You know, we still have to take more people.
Sure.
If you don't mind, if you can.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, capexempt@iitpeople.com, and we will definitely, you know, get this question answered by the attorney. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one last, I think, Balaji. Balaji, you're on the air. Did we miss you?
Yeah, hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Like, so my question is like, I was in L1B visa from May 2010 to September 2014, and my H1B got picked on 2014 lottery. But like initially what was applied was like L1B to H1B, but they gave me back I-797B actually, asking me to go back to India and get a fresh H1B. So I came back to like saying that because like my L1B was only till September 2014, but I can start working in H1B only from October 2014. So that was the reason they were asking me to go back to India, get the H1B stamped and come in fresh H1B. I got my H1B stamped on December 2014, but I didn't travel like because like already I was in L1B for 4 years. I want to use the H1B for full 6 years. So I gave a 365 days gap, and then I traveled on September 18th, but I was there only for 2 weeks for a family emergency. I traveled back in H1B, but I didn't have any pay slips for those 2 weeks actually. So my question is like, first question is like I have my H1B for full 6 years, like minus 6 years minus the 2 weeks which I traveled. So like previous question was similar to that, so I'm raising this question. So since like I gave a 365 days gap, like I have H1B for 6 years, right?
Sachin, did you get his question right?
I understood, from what I understand is the gentleman had spent 1 year outside of the United States, but he was cap counted before he spent the 1 year outside of the United States.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, if you are cap counted already, when your L, you already spent 4 years on the L, then you only have 2 years remaining. If you, and maybe I misunderstood, so please correct me if I'm wrong, if you were on the L for 4 years, then you left the country for 1 year, and then you were cap counted in a fresh lottery, then and only then do you have 6 years.
Oh, okay, no, actually I was cap counted on 2014, and I was in L1B till September 2014. But I was given I-7 and 7B, and I went for stamping. And then I traveled in H1B only after 1 year. So like I didn't travel between my L1B work and the traveling of H1B. There is a 1 year gap actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sujit.
But Balaji, can I add something over here? You know, your method of trying to get 6 years is, you know, I think is is in my opinion not the right method. Okay, you know, if you want to, you can get a perpetual H1B extension availability by finding a good employer such as Dan, who's willing to file a perm and a green a perm and an I-140 for his employees, right? And you know, you don't have to stay in India for 365 days and forgo a salary from the U.S. and take your family back there when you have good employers such as Dan who are willing to file the I-140 for you and give you the ability to continuously renew your H-1B in 3-year increments.
So I had my reasons. I had marriage plans.
Okay, that's different. That's completely different. But in your case, I would tell you, you know, your best scenario is, you know, find a good employer who would be willing to file the perm and the I-140 for you, so you'll continuously be able to renew your H-1B until you get your green card.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. So now, right now, like I have 6 years of H-1B, or is it only 2 years left?
According to my calculation, look, if you have not spent 1 year prior to applying for the new lottery, then unfortunately you only have 2 years remaining.
Okay, yeah, great. So second question is like for using my cap Exempt now. I'm in actually I'm in US right now in H4. So like for using my cap Exempt, like do they ask my? I mean, I was in US for 2 weeks without payslip. I traveled back immediately for a family emergency. So like, will it be a problem that I don't have payslip for those 2 weeks?
When you apply for an H1B change of status as a cap exempt, you are going to be requested to show that you've maintained H4 status, and the documentation that you should have prepared for Dan is, and for us, is that you should have, okay, here's what you should have: your marriage certificate,
yeah,
your passport,
yeah,
your wife's pay statements.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and that, by her having her pay statements, shows that she's maintained status, and by virtue of her maintaining status, that means you've maintained your H4 status. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
I would also add to that, you know, we would need your wife's H-1B approval notice, and if she has an H-1B visa and an I-94, we would need that too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you're going to need, I mean, if we go on the, you also need the passport, you need her passport, you need your passport, you need all of that, but I mean, strictly speaking, from a status maintenance position, those pay stubs, what you're referring to is, you know, we don't even want to touch on that. When you file the initial change of status, we're not going to raise all those things. That's a future, you know, let's just say that's a non-issue right now. And as Sujit mentioned, he's absolutely correct. You will need her 797 approval notice.
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Okay.
And third thing is like I traveled back to India on September 2014, but I see my travel history that date is not mentioned. So will it be a problem in calculating my 6 years thing, like saying that I was in L1B for 4 years, right? Will it be a problem while they calculate the 6 years limit?
Listen, here's the deal. Online, if you're looking at the CBP I-94 online system, that is an imperfect system, although it was meant to streamline and make everyone's life easier. Instances such as these, yours, it clearly will make life a little bit more difficult. You will have to, remember, the burden is on you to prove how much time you have left on your H-1B. That means your airline tickets, your receipts, your visa stamps, your arrival and departure stamps. All of that is going to be your responsibility. CIS is not going to rely exclusively on the I-94. That is the first initial evidentiary requirement, but that is not the only evidentiary requirement.
Yeah, just to add there, as an employer, when we work with candidates, we don't rely on, as rightly said by Sachin, we don't rely on the I-94 retrieval system records of the CBP. Rather, we take copies of all pages of your passport and try to grab data from your entry-exit stamps while coming in the U.S. and when you enter India. So this type of data, we create an entry-exit sheet where we capture this data and count the days, years, and months that you actually spent in the United States. So, we will talk about it when we start working with you. We will send you a checklist of documents that are required. One of our immigration coordinators will work with you to ensure we do a proper calculation of numbers to accurately recapture the remainder on your H-1B visa. Now, that was the last question, but before we close the session for tonight, now one last question to the attorneys. Now, a lot of people, based on today's excellent, this has been one of the best information sessions I've ever had personally. They are under assumption that if they had an H-1B visa and they were in the U.S. before and they spent outside the country for 365 days, this is a general question, people ask. They assume that their H-1B will be reset for 6 years. But then, as we've been, explaining last 2 hours, if you have spent 2 years, including the L time and the H time, H-1B, not H4, if you spend 3 years on your H-1, irrespective of how long you stayed outside the country, you can only have that remainder. So in other words, if you have spent 3 years in the country and you have lived in India for 3 years and we file another H-1 for you, then you are only left with 3 years. So don't be under an assumption that you will have 6 more years to coming to on your H-1. Now, if you want to get that 6 more years, you have to go through the lottery process. If there is a lottery again next year, more likely yes, because we had 236,000 applications this year. You will be, once you are again counted for cap, then yes, you will get 6 years. So I hope the attorneys agree with my statement here. If you want to add, before we end this session, if you want to add anything, Sujit or Sachin, please do so.
Yes, Dan, we agree, that basically you have to think about it this way. It's 6 years per lottery counting. So each time you've been counted in the lottery, it's 6 years. And if you want to get recounted in the lottery, you have to stay out of the country for 365 days and then reapply to a new lottery. Dan, there's something going on with the muting and
yeah, I see that. I can hear you now. Yeah, please. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so you have to think about it this way. It's 6 years per lottery counting, right? So so if you've been counted in the lottery, you get 6 years. If you want to get recounted in a new lottery, you have to stay out for 365 days and then get recounted. So if you've been counted in the lottery the first time and you simply stay out of the country, you have not been recounted in a new lottery, so it only gives you the remainder of your time. Okay, and so the best way to get a perpetual ability to renew your H1B is to work with a good employer, and that's very important. You know, as immigration attorneys, we stress the importance of working with a good employer for a couple of reasons. Remember, when you are in the U.S., your status depends on your job, especially in an H1B status, right? And if you have employers that play games, do not share immigration documents with you, do not respond to, do not respond to queries by consulates, or at the same time, don't tell you what your status is, put you on bench. That all puts your lives, puts the lives of your family in jeopardy, because it's very easy for you to go out of status if your employer doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and that can affect your future ability to come to the U.S., the future ability of your children and your wife to come to the U.S. So it's very important to work with a good employer, and an employer who's going to be transparent and treat you well. That's the absolute key. So when you're thinking about coming to the U.S., an employer is your partner in this immigration journey. So make sure you guys get a good employer. One other thing I'd like to add is, in the email that went out today, there was a typographical error with our website. It's www.immlegal.com. IMM legal, not IMM law. So it's immlegal.com.
Okay.
Okay. Sachin, would you like to say something?
Please.
First of all, thank you very much, Dan. This has been a very informative session. I always appreciate the opportunity to speak to our brothers and sisters abroad, and here too, if you're here in the U.S. We'd love to be a resource to you if there's any further questions, not only to Higher IT, to Dan, but also to the individuals who are particularly on this webinar. You have our information. Dan has our information. We look forward to speaking with you. We wish you all the best, and I'm sure.
Sachin, before we close the session, can you share an email? So if anyone wants to open an FOIA request, you can always send us an email at Exempt, CAPEXEMPT @hire, HIRE, ITpeople.com. And one of our, sooner or later, starting next week, we will definitely connect with you and start working with you with your resume. And if you need to open up a Freedom of Information request, you need attorney's help anytime, please reach out to Suji just shared his website. It's www.immlegal.com, immlegal.com. That's pretty simple. It was
there's no I. It's IMM legal.
Okay. I'm sorry, immlegal.com.
No problem.
And
no problem.
there was a typographical error when I emailed, because it's pretty close. Now, thanks everyone. I would like to thank all the attendees, and I would like to thank the law firm and staying up so late. I know you have a busy schedule. Lawyers work 7 days a week. And once again, if you need to reach out to us, if you have a question, we have a 24/7 toll-free line, 1-800-693-8939. Someone will definitely answer the call. It's a 24/7 toll-free line. If you have to reach out to us, sometime midnight in the U.S., we will attempt to take all those calls and help with your job placement. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to email us or call us 24/7. Thank you, everyone. And more questions, if you want to continue, if you are still not clear, please send a detailed request in an email. And if this is something to do with the attorney's office, we will seek assistance from the attorneys and get an answer for your questions. Thank you, and have a great day. Have a good night, Sujit. And we also have some people logged in from the US. Have a good night, or good morning. It's already 3 o'clock. Signing off. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.